the Cardinal know, and when did he know it? For years, attorneys without success have been trying to question New York's Cardinal Edward Egan about a priest he supervised while bishop of the Bridgeport Diocese.
The former priest John Castaldo is a convicted sex offender, and he's being sued for at least the third time for allegedly molesting a young boy. And the Cardinal is being named as a defendant in this lawsuit.
Count Out 8 investigator Alan Cohen is in exclusive interview with the alleged victims and confronts Cardinal Egan. Alan?
Ted and Ann, the alleged victim you're about to meet says he will not settle this case until he and his attorney have the opportunity to force Cardinal Edward Egan to answer their questions. Questions like, why did you ordain Father John Castaldo despite being warned this man was not fit to be a priest? It was the late 1980s at St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Trumbull.
I remember him being introduced to the class as a new priest at St. Teresa's.
Father John Castaldo was a young, charismatic priest.
He was kind of telling jokes and things like that.
And at first, David, who is now 34, did not have any reason to fear the newly ordained priest with the friendly smile supervising his CCD class. But that would change.
You know, I had two encounters with him of a sexual nature.
David doesn't want his last name used or his face shown, but for the first time he is talking publicly about his claims of being sexually abused at least twice by Father John Castaldo.
They're very scary.
The alleged abuse forever changed his life and how he viewed his religion.
The one in the church was after confession.
It's a story we unfortunately have heard far too often since the church sex scandal first made news over 20 years ago. So what makes this particular story different? Not only did the Bridgeport Diocese at the time ordain Father Castaldo, despite this pleading from a previous case claims receiving information from the head of the Christ the King Seminary in New York concerning the priest's, quote, bizarre sexual behavior, and a warning from that rector not to hire him. But one of the bishops in charge at the time is the man pictured next to Father Castaldo in this photo, Cardinal Edward Egan, the retiring cardinal of the Archdiocese of New York.
Cardinal Egan knew of the bizarre behavior on the part of Castaldo, did nothing to put him in check, did nothing to fire him, although the records, interestingly but not surprisingly, show that he was moved around throughout the diocese to different parishes and exposed to any number of children.
Egan is now being sued by David Doe. Attorney Joel Faxon charges the cardinal, who at the time was the bishop of the Bridgeport Diocese, ignored the church's own psychological assessments that noted Castaldo was, quote, fearful of his own aggressive drives and was preoccupied with his unresolved sexual urges.
Isn't it quite possible that he might say, I might be ultimately responsible, but this one got past me. I was not aware of Father Castaldo's problems.
Well, when the information is directed, the decision to hire is made by the bishop. And when the background information is directed to the bishop and the bishop ignores it or claims that he didn't read it, that is clear mismanagement.
Faxon wants to question Cardinal Egan about Castaldo. The last time a lawyer attempted to do that, the case was settled on the eve of the deposition. So what does Cardinal Egan have to say? We faxed a copy of the lawsuit to his spokesman, and we're told the cardinal was made aware of it. But when we tried to get his reaction, this is what he told us.
I'm not being sued for anything.
You are being sued by a Connecticut man who says that you transferred Father John Castaldo.
I don't think you're right, but you can check. I don't know that. But I wouldn't say that.
Thank you.
Unless you're sure what you're talking about.
The church has settled at least 2 other cases against Father Castaldo, one of which was filed by a former altar boy at St. Teresa's. Eventually, Castaldo was appointed by the church as spiritual advisor to Trinity Catholic High School in Stamford. That was until his arrest and conviction in 2001 on charges of soliciting a 14-year-old boy on the internet, who turned out to be a police officer in New York State. Castaldo has been defrocked by the church and today resides in New York and on New York's sex offender registry.
From what I know now, which you mentioned, he should never have been in contact with any children ever in any position of authority, and they knew that, his superiors.
In the previous case, Father Castaldo admitted in a deposition to having a sickness before and after his assignment at St. Teresa's. As for Cardinal Egan, he was served with the lawsuit even before we faxed it to his spokesman. And Ted, back to you.
All right, Alan, thank you.